I know how this sounds. And honestly, if someone else had posted this online, I probably wouldn't believe him either. But it's happening to me. And I'm at the end of my rope. My wife, Laura, disappeared 11 days ago. Just gone. No note. No warning. No sign of a struggle. 1 minute she was getting ready for her usual evening jog, and the next, nothing. It was Wednesday. I remember that because it was the first night I was supposed to take over dinner duty. I had burned the chicken, and the smoke alarm was still chirping when she laced up her sneakers. She kissed my cheek, told me not to burn the house down, and laughed as she walked out the door. That was the last time I saw her. She always ran the same route. A loop around the neighborhood, down through the park, and back. 45 minutes, give or take. I started to worry when an hour passed. I texted her. No answer. I called, twice. Straight to voicemail. That wasn't like her. I got in the car and drove the loop. I stopped by the park. I even asked a couple walking their dog if they'd seen a woman in a red windbreaker. They hadn't. By 10 p.m., I called the police. They asked the usual questions. Was there a fight? Had she been acting strange lately? Was there any chance she'd left voluntarily? No, and no. Our marriage wasn't perfect, whose is, but we were solid. She wasn't depressed, and she sure as hell wouldn't ghost me like this. They filed a missing person report. Took a statement. Sent out a patrol to canvass the area. But she was just gone. That was 11 nights ago. And ever since then, every single night at exactly 1:13 a.m., my phone rings. The caller ID says, Laura. The first time, I picked up so fast I almost dropped the phone. Laura? I shouted. Laura, where are you? Static. A low crackling hum, like someone pressing their mouth against a microphone and breathing. Then, nothing. Call ended. Duration, 13 seconds. The next night, same time. 1:13 a.m. I was already awake, staring at the ceiling, waiting. I picked up again. More static. But this time, I could swear I heard something else. A whisper. Not a word I could make out, but definitely a voice. Night 3, I recorded it. Same static. Same whispering. When I played it back the next morning, the audio was completely blank. No sound at all, as if the phone hadn't recorded anything. I took the call log and audio file to the police. The officer barely looked at it before saying, Sir, we're doing everything we can to find your wife. I suggest you try to rest and not fixate too hard. Phones glitch. Grief does strange things. Maybe that's true. Maybe I'm losing my mind. But then came night 5. And that night, she spoke. Night 5. 1:13 a.m. I was already sitting on the floor, back against the wall, phone in my hand, staring at the screen. My heart was hammering like I was waiting for a bomb to go off. And then, it rang. Laura. Same contact photo. Same number. I hesitated. Something about that night felt heavier, thicker, like the air itself was holding its breath. I answered. Laura? For a second, nothing but static again. Then, through the haze, a voice. It was low, distant, like she was standing at the end of a long tunnel. But unmistakably hers. Don't trust the. The line went dead. I sat there in the dark, shaking, phone still pressed to my ear even after the call ended. Don't trust the what? I didn't sleep that night. I just replayed the call in my head over and over again. Tried to fill in the blank. Don't trust who? The police? Someone we know? Was she in danger? Was this her way of warning me? I checked the call logs again. The number was real. Her number. The one that had been disconnected, I had called it after she disappeared. It went straight to voicemail. Now it was ringing again, but only at 1:13 a.m. I needed help. I didn't want to go back to the police. They'd already labeled me as the anxious husband. I could hear it in their voices every time I called for updates. Still no leads, sir. We're following every possible angle. Click. So I turned to someone else, my brother, Eric. Eric's the kind of guy who reads conspiracy forums, listens to paranormal podcasts, and keeps a flashlight and knife in his car just in case. We're opposites in a lot of ways, but he's the only one who would actually take me seriously. He came over the next day. I played him the voicemail, or tried to. Just like before, the audio was blank. No static, no voice, just silence. But I could see it in his face, he believed me. You said the calls come at exactly 1:13, he asked. I nodded. That's oddly specific. You know what 1:13 adds up to, right? I frowned. What, like numerology? 1 + 1 + 3 is equal to 5, he said. Maybe that means something. Or maybe I'm reaching. But it's always worth looking at the numbers. I rolled my eyes. I think the more important thing is that my missing wife is somehow calling me from a disconnected number. He nodded slowly. Let's record the next one. Properly. I'll bring my field mic and rig, high gain directional with analog input. Not just your phone. So we waited. That night, we sat together in the dark living room, lights off, mic set up, my phone on the coffee table between us. I kept checking the time. 1:10, 1:11. 1:12, 1:13. The phone buzzed. Eric hit record. I answered. And this time, we both heard it. The static was louder than before, almost like a storm was crackling through the speaker. I could hear Laura's breath, ragged and fast, like she'd been running. Listen, she whispered. He's not who you think he is, he's in the house. I froze. Who? Laura, who's in the house? The line cut out. Eric and I stared at each other. I grabbed his mic and stopped the recording. Did you hear that? He nodded, face pale. I heard every damn word. We played the audio back. Nothing. Just white noise. But this time, there was something else in the background. Something neither of us had noticed during the call. A click. Very soft. Like a door slowly unlatching. Coming from somewhere inside the house. The click on the recording wasn't coming from the phone. We both knew at the moment we heard it. It had that unmistakable, real-world quality, not digital interference, not a playback glitch. Just a slow, mechanical click. Like the sound a door makes when it's being carefully, quietly opened. Eric froze with his hand on the mic. That didn't come from the audio, he whispered. That was. We both turned toward the hallway. My house isn't big, but at 1:15 a.m., every creak feels like it comes from a cathedral. The hallway light was off, but the faint amber glow from the porch light outside filtered through the front windows. Just enough to see the silhouette of my front door. Closed. Still locked. I got up slowly. Dude, Eric said, standing too. You sure you locked everything tonight? Yes, I said. Like always. Deadbolt, too. We walked down the hallway together. He had his phone's flashlight out, aimed low. I tried the doorknob, locked. Deadbolt, still engaged. But something felt wrong. Like someone had just stepped out of sight. We checked every room. The windows were latched, back door, secured. Basement door. Locked. Nothing out of place. But neither of us felt safe. We tried to laugh it off. Maybe it was something in the wall. Pipes. Settling. But neither of us believed it. We sat up for another hour, re-listening to the recording. The whisper. The click. The way she said, he's in the house. The next morning, Eric convinced me to go deeper. Not just into the audio, into everything. He brought over his laptop, 2 energy drinks, and a spiral notebook. We made a list of everything Laura had done the week before she vanished. I gave him access to our joint calendar, her emails, her social media. It started with small things. Laura had recently unfollowed 3 people she used to talk to almost daily. One of them was her old coworker, Rachel, who she used to vent about work with. I hadn't even noticed. Then we found something stranger, a deleted email from a week before she disappeared, auto-saved in her drafts. Subject line, if something happens to me. It was never sent. The body was empty. Eric looked at me. She knew something was wrong. That afternoon, I finally caved and called her sister, Jenna. I hadn't told her about the calls, just said I was coping. But now I needed to know, had Laura said anything? Any fear? Any name? Had she seemed off? Jenna paused. Actually, yeah. There was this one weird thing. A few days before she vanished, she called me at like midnight. Just said, "Do you remember the woods behind the Miller house?" I blinked. What? Exactly. I said yeah, of course. We used to play there when we were kids. But then she said, I think I left something there. Something I shouldn't have taken. Then she hung up. I thought maybe she was just drunk. But Laura didn't drink. And the Miller house? It was 3 blocks away. Abandoned since the 90s. The backyard backed up to thick woods that nobody really walked through anymore, overgrown, tangled, full of garbage and broken fencing. That night, Eric and I went there. The Miller house looked exactly like you'd expect. Gray, sagging roof. Boarded windows. The fence had a giant gap in the back where kids probably sneaked in for decades. The woods behind it were worse. The trees felt too close together, and everything was too quiet, like the kind of quiet that makes your ears ring. We walked about 50 feet in before we found it. A small clearing. At the center, a perfectly square patch of dirt, about 3 feet wide. Recently disturbed. Eric and I looked at each other. This wasn't dug by an animal, he said. I didn't answer. I was already kneeling down, brushing loose leaves aside, heart pounding. That's when I saw it. A single object, half buried. A red windbreaker. Laura's. Still zipped. Still folded. Like someone had placed it there on purpose. I reached down and touched the fabric. It was dry. Not weathered, not muddy. It hadn't been there long. A day, maybe 2. But Laura had vanished over a week ago. How the hell? I whispered. Eric took a step back, scanning the trees around us. This feels wrong, man. Like really wrong. Someone put that here. Recently. I picked up the jacket. Something shifted inside. I unzipped the pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. I don't remember the exact moment I realized my hands were shaking. The paper was thin, like something torn from a notebook. On it, in smudged black ink, were 4 words, "Don't let him in." That's it. No name. No signature. But I knew it was her handwriting. No doubt in my mind. Eric stared at it for a long moment. What the fuck is this, man? Who's him? We didn't talk much on the walk back. I couldn't stop turning the note over and over in my hand, like maybe more words would appear. But they never did. That night, we decided not to sleep. We set up a full audio rig in the living room, 2 directional mics, 1 shotgun mic pointed toward the front hallway, and Eric's laptop with 3 separate recorders running simultaneously. We even placed a GoPro on the bookshelf aimed at the front door. If something happened again, anything, we were going to catch it. At 1:13 a.m., the phone rang. Same number. Laura. I picked it up, voice tight. Laura, I'm here. Please, tell me where you are. Tell me what's going on. This time, there was no static. Just breathing. Soft, rhythmic. It didn't sound like hers anymore. Too slow. Too deep. Then, a voice. A different voice. A man's. Low, flat. Unemotional. She warned you. I froze. Eric's eyes went wide. He could hear it too. I swallowed hard. Who are you? Click. Call ended. The silence in the room felt like a scream. Eric lunged for the laptop, scrubbing through the recordings. Please tell me that got recorded. It did. But when we played it back, the voice wasn't there. Not mine. Not his. Not even the ringtone. Just breathing. Heavy. Close. And right before the file cut off, the same door click as before. Only this time, we weren't imagining it. From upstairs, thud. Both of us froze. Another thud. Someone was walking across the second floor. I grabbed the fireplace poker. Eric had a pocket knife. We moved slowly up the stairs, one step at a time, trying not to make noise. The hallway was pitch dark. I flicked on the light. Nothing. Doors all shut. Carpet undisturbed. But the attic hatch? It was open. The ladder, down. I stared at it. I didn't. Eric shook his head. You didn't. That was closed earlier. I saw it. I stepped under the hatch. Cold air drifted down, like the temperature dropped 10 degrees above us. I looked at Eric. We have to look. He nodded, reluctantly. We climbed. The attic was small, unfinished, and mostly empty: boxes, insulation, an old rocking chair we didn't even know we owned. But in the far corner, tucked between two beams, we found something I can't explain. A phone. Laura's phone. Battery dead. Screen cracked. But it was hers. I turned to Eric. She didn't have it when she left. I checked. She took her keys, earbuds, that's it. She left her phone behind. Eric looked pale. So how has she been calling you? I didn't have an answer. But right then, the dead phone in my hand buzzed. I dropped the phone like it was on fire. Eric jumped back, nearly falling into the insulation. Tell me you heard that, I said, backing away. I heard it, he said, eyes wide. That was a notification buzz. From a phone with no battery. I picked it up again, hands shaking. The screen stayed black, cracked, lifeless. No vibration motor should have worked. Hell, the battery had been dead for 11 days. I'd tried calling it after Laura disappeared. Straight to voicemail. But it buzzed. And then it did it again. BZZZT. 3 short pulses, like Morse code. Or a pattern. I looked at Eric. Do you think it's her? I don't know, he said quietly. But we're not alone in this house. We stayed up the rest of the night in the living room. All the lights on. The attic door still open. We didn't even try to sleep. The next morning, Eric found something buried deep in Laura's cloud backups, a set of audio files from her phone. Voicemails. They weren't in her phone app, they'd been manually recorded through a voice memo app. Like she was saving them, not trusting the phone system. One was labeled Millerhouse_night1.wave. I played it. Laura's voice. Quiet. Frantic, breathing heavily. It's inside. I saw it in the mirror. It wears his face. Oh God, it smiled at me. But it wasn't him. It looked like him, but wrong. Too tall. Too still. She pauses. I shouldn't have gone back there. I thought if I returned it, it would leave us alone. But it just got closer. It's in the house. It's wearing him. Please, if anyone hears this. Silence. Then a strange, mechanical whisper, layered over the final second. Something like, "You opened the door." I slammed the laptop shut. "I don't know what this is," I said, "but I think whatever took her, whatever's calling me, it's not human." Eric nodded slowly. "And it knows we're listening." We agreed to leave the house. At least for a while. I packed a small bag, stuffed the dead phone in it, and we checked into a cheap motel off the highway. We didn't tell anyone where we were going. Just vanished for the night. At 1:13 a.m., the motel phone rang. Not my cell, the landline in the room. Eric and I both just stared at it as it buzzed on the nightstand. I reached for it. Picked it up. "Hello?" Silence. Then, the same deep non-Laura voice from before, "You can't run from inside." Then came a noise I still can't explain, like metal scraping on bone. Long wet. The line went dead. I yanked the cord from the wall. Eric whispered, "How did it even find us?" I looked down at my bag. The dead phone. Of course. "It's tracking through her phone," I said. "Then get rid of it." But as I went to pull it out of the bag, the phone lit up. No power. No charger. Still dead, but the screen turned on. And there was a message on it. "You brought it with you." The message on Laura's dead phone glowed for maybe 3 seconds. "You brought it with you." Then the screen went black again. I stared at it, afraid to even touch the thing. Eric backed up toward the bathroom, like the phone might explode or grow teeth. "Dude. I don't care what that is. Throw it in the tub. Smash it. Burn it. Just get it out of this room." I didn't move. I couldn't. Because something clicked in my brain just then, something about how that message was written. No punctuation. Just like Laura used to text. And suddenly, this insane thought slid into my mind: what if she didn't mean the phone? What if she sent that message? What if it wasn't the phone at all? What if I'd brought something else? I looked up. Eric was still pacing. I opened my mouth to say something when the lights in the motel room flickered once, then went out completely. Total darkness. Not even the orange streetlight glow from outside made it through. And then, from the vent above the bed, came a voice. A woman's whisper. So soft I almost thought I imagined it. But I didn't. "He's wearing you now." Eric heard it too. He spun around, flashlight already in hand, beam cutting through the dark toward the ceiling vent. Nothing there. Just metal grating and shadows. But the voice had come from inside. "You hear that?" he whispered. I nodded. I couldn't speak. Then, something moved behind the curtains. Just a shift, like someone brushing their hand against the fabric. Eric lunged for them and yanked them open. Nobody. Just the window, closed and locked. But on the glass, there was a handprint. Upside down. Pressed from the outside. We got out. Didn't pack. Didn't check out. Just left. Drove back to my house at 3 a.m. like idiots running toward the fire instead of away from it. And here's where it gets even more insane. When we got to my place, the attic hatch was shut again. Locked from the inside. We checked every inch of the house. No signs of entry. All the doors locked. Windows sealed. Nothing disturbed. Except one thing. On the kitchen table was the red windbreaker. The same one we found in the woods. Folded. Clean. Like it had just been washed. On top of it, a second note. Written in the same rushed, shaky handwriting as the first. "You're not talking to me. You're not talking to me." I stared at the note, trying to make sense of it. Eric stood behind me, breathing hard. "Okay. No. Nope. That's it. This is officially way past haunted house bullshit. Something's playing with us." But I couldn't stop reading the message. "You're not talking to me." That meant, what? The calls? The messages? The voice that told me she warned you? Wasn't Laura. I sat down hard in the kitchen chair, jacket and note in front of me like evidence in a trial I didn't know I was on. And then a sick, burning thought wormed its way in: if I haven't been talking to her, who the hell have I been talking to? Eric pulled out his laptop and reopened the old voice memo, Millerhouse_night1.wave. We listened again. This time, we noticed something at the very end we'd missed before. A second whisper, buried under the first. Slower. Not Laura's voice. Say yes. We isolated it. Replayed it 10 times. Say yes, say yes, say yes. Eric looked up. Say yes to what? I didn't answer. Because I already knew. The phone calls. The whispers. The things pretending to be her. They were trying to wear me down. Make me vulnerable. Make me agree. To what, I still wasn't sure. But I knew if I answered one of those calls and said yes, something terrible would happen. So I turned my phone off. Full shutdown. SIM out. Battery pulled. No more calls. That night was the first in 11 days that 1:13 a.m. came and went in silence. But silence isn't peace. Because now it wasn't calling. It was coming. At 2:08 a.m., there was a knock at the door. 3 knocks. Perfectly spaced. Like someone measured them. Eric and I stood there in the hallway, staring at the door like two idiots in a horror movie who should know better. Another knock. I whispered, "We're not opening it." Eric nodded slowly. Then, whoever was outside, or whatever, spoke. A woman's voice. Laura's voice. "Babe? Can you let me in? It's cold." My stomach turned to ice. Eric grabbed my arm, whispered, "That's not her." The voice came again, softer. "I'm locked out. I forgot my keys. Can you open the door, please?" No fear. No confusion. Just that soft, even tone. Exactly the way Laura sounded when she wanted something, like when she'd ask me to get the laundry or feed the cat. Then a pause. "I know you have someone in there with you." We said nothing. Then the voice changed. Dropped all pretense. "You can't hide in your skin forever." Silence. No more knocking. We stayed awake until the sun rose. The next day, we went back to the woods. Back to the clearing. We brought shovels this time. We dug. After about 2 feet down, Eric's shovel hit something. Metal. He dropped to his knees and cleared the dirt. It was a box. An old, rusted lockbox. No keyhole. Just a sealed latch. And scratched into the top, in what looked like dried fingernail marks, "Don't say yes." The box was cold. Not just metal in the ground cold, wrong cold. Like it had been refrigerated. Like the air around it didn't want to move. Eric stared at the scratched words on the lid, "Don't say yes." Then he looked at me. "You think this is what she was talking about? What she tried to return?" I nodded slowly. "She said she took something from here. Maybe, this is it." We didn't open it right away. We didn't even touch it. Instead, we stood there in the clearing, surrounded by dead leaves and swaying trees, arguing over what to do next. "Dude," Eric said, pacing. "Think about it. She found this, right? Took it. Then everything started. Calls. Voices. Disappearances. And now someone, or something, is trying to make you open it." I pointed at the lid. "But it says don't say yes, not don't open." "That's the same thing," he snapped. "What if opening it is saying yes? What if it's a trick?" I looked down at the box. It felt like it was waiting. We took it with us anyway. Yeah. I know. Stupid. But we weren't thinking straight. We were scared, exhausted, and desperate. I wanted answers. I wanted Laura back, and for the first time, it felt like this thing, this awful, heavy box, might have them. We put it in Eric's trunk, covered it with a tarp, and drove back to my place. For the first few hours, nothing happened. We kept it sealed, untouched, just sitting in the garage. We researched the box, antique lockboxes, ritual containment, cursed artifacts, anything that might give us a clue. Most of it was garbage. But one thread stood out. A forum from 2009, archived and barely legible. Someone posting under the name RedFog73 wrote about a box they found in an abandoned shack in Pennsylvania. They described whispers. Phone calls. Voices pretending to be loved ones. And a phrase, "Don't say yes. It makes room for him." I read that line over and over again. Eric said nothing. Later that night, I was in the kitchen making coffee when the lights flickered again. 1:12 a.m. I checked my phone. Still off. Battery removed. SIM card in a drawer. No devices connected. But from the living room, Eric's phone began to ring. One ring. No ringtone. Just vibration. He picked it up. Caller ID, Laura. He didn't answer. But this time, the phone didn't stop. It just kept vibrating, a solid, endless buzz. No call screen. Just Laura's name, burned into the display like it had been etched there. Then, the voice, not from the phone. From the box in the garage. "It's time." I swear to God I heard it. Eric heard it too. It didn't sound like a voice coming from inside a box, it sounded like a voice inside my head, using my own memories to speak. We ran outside. The garage door was closed. But the air reeked of something sweet and rotting, like spoiled meat and flowers. We opened the garage. The box was glowing faintly, like embers in the cracks. We didn't touch it. Eric threw a blanket over it, grabbed the whole thing, and dumped it into the fire pit behind my house. We lit it. It screamed. Not out loud. Not in the air. In our heads. Both of us dropped to our knees as the sound poured into us like boiling water. Visions hit me, flashes of things I can't explain, a face stretched too wide to be human. A door that opens inward, into nothing. A woman's hand, reaching out, but pulled back at the last second. Then it was gone. The fire burned cold for hours. And when the box finally cracked and collapsed into ash, I heard her. "Laura. You shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have done that." Her voice came from behind me. Not through a phone. Not in my head. Behind me. I spun around so fast I nearly fell into the fire pit. Nothing. Just the dark yard. Trees. Shadows. Eric stood frozen, staring at me. "You heard that?" I whispered. He nodded. Clear as day. But something in his face told me it wasn't just her voice he heard. "What is it?" I asked. He didn't answer right away. Then, it didn't sound right. It was her voice, but it wasn't her. The fire finally began to fade. The ashes of the box crumbled into gray dust, the glow dying out. The screaming was gone. So was the sweet rotting smell. But the feeling, that horrible, thick pressure in the air, lingered. We went back inside. Neither of us said much. We barely slept. The next morning, I got a text. From Laura's number. No message. Just a photo. It took me a second to understand what I was seeing. It was a picture of me. Standing in the kitchen. Wearing the same shirt I had on right now. Taken from outside the house. Like someone, or something, had been watching us from the yard. Eric and I tore through the security footage, but the feed from between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. was gone. Just black frames. No data. It was like time skipped. Or like something erased itself. After that, the messages became more frequent. Always from her number. Always at random times. One said, "I'm not in the woods anymore." Another, "He liked your voice." And then one that just said, "Say yes." I didn't respond. I didn't even type. But my phone buzzed again, instantly. That counts. I shut it off. Again. I took out the battery. Again. I even bought a new burner phone. Different number. Didn't give it to anyone. Still got a call, blocked number. 1:13 a.m. I didn't answer. But Eric did. He picked up, put it on speaker. At first, just wind. Then, static. Then, a voice whispering under the static, "You burned the gate. He'll need another. You are hollow." And finally, very clearly, "You brought him back." That night, I dreamed of the attic again. Except this time, I was inside it. Sitting in that old rocking chair. Except now the chair was facing me. And sitting in it, was me. But not quite. His eyes were too dark. His smile was frozen. His fingers tapped slowly on the armrest, like he was waiting. He leaned forward. "You're almost ready," he said. I woke up screaming. And when I looked at my phone, one that hadn't rung in days, with the SIM card removed and no power, the screen was on. A text waited for me. From a contact simply labeled, "Me." Yes. I dropped the phone like it burned me. Eric rushed in from the hallway, probably thinking I'd fallen or seen something, which, in a way, I had. I pointed at the screen. "It's from me," I whispered. "My name. My number." But I didn't send it. I couldn't have. The phone was still without a SIM card. No service. No Wi-Fi. Eric stared at the screen. The message blinked once, then vanished. Just poof. Gone. No trace in the message history. No notifications. Like it had never been there at all. But we both saw it. "I think you already said yes," Eric said, voice quiet. "What are you talking about?" Not out loud. Not even recently. But somewhere along the line, you let it in. That phrase sent a bolt through me. You let it in. Had I? What if it wasn't about answering the phone, or opening the box, or responding to texts? What if all it needed was my attention? What if just listening, watching, believing, was enough? I remembered Laura's warning from one of the early calls, "The real Laura, I'm now certain, don't trust the..." She didn't finish. But she tried to warn me. Not just about someone. About something pretending. Pretending to be her. Pretending to be me. I stood there for a long time, staring into space, trying to trace back where everything changed. Where I might have made the decision, even unconsciously, that let something else into my life. That night, I had another dream. The attic again. But this time, there were two chairs. One empty. The other still held him. The other me. Only now, he looked more human. Less distorted. His face was sharper. Clearer. Like he was becoming more real, more me. He smiled. Tilted his head. "You're tired. Let me take it from here." When I woke up, the bedroom mirror was fogged. Not from steam. There was no heat. No showers. Nothing in the house should have caused it. And written across it, drawn in the condensation, were 3 letters, "Yes." The next morning, Eric was gone. No note. No message. His car was still out front, keys on the counter. But his phone? Wiped. Factory reset. Like someone had gone through and scrubbed it clean, or like it had never been his. The only thing left behind was a sticky note on my fridge. In his handwriting. 4 words. "You're already in." I stood in front of the fridge, staring at Eric's note. "You're already in." What the hell did that mean? In what? The trap? The dream? Some kind of agreement I didn't remember making? I called out for him, nothing. I searched the entire house. No signs of a struggle, no footprints, no sounds. Just, gone. Like he'd never been there. But he had been. There were 2 coffee mugs in the sink. His hoodie on the couch. His car still parked outside. And yet, no trace of him. I checked the security camera. Rewind. Play. At 4:17 a.m., Eric walked out of the guest room and vanished from the hallway. Not walked out the door. Not went out of frame. Just, gone. Mid-step. Like a film jump cut, but in real life. I paused the feed, backed it up, slowed it frame by frame. 1 frame, he's there. Mid-stride. Next frame, hallway's empty. Just shadow. And in that shadow, something moved. A flicker. Tall. Wrong. Not Eric. By 7 a.m. I couldn't sit still. I needed air. Light. Something normal. I left the house and drove to a diner across town. Somewhere bright. Somewhere public. A place with waitresses and clinking coffee cups and the smell of bacon and real people having real conversations about real things, taxes, kids, football. I sat in a booth by the window. Ordered black coffee. Tried to write everything down in a notebook. Across the diner, an old man was staring at me. Not in a casual way. Not like I looked familiar. Just staring. When I met his eyes, he didn't look away. Instead, he said, loud enough for me to hear, "You shouldn't be here." I froze. He stood up and walked toward me. Slowly. Like every step was a decision, he reached into his coat and pulled out a photo. It was grainy. Black and white. Old. I looked closer, and my stomach dropped. It was me. Sitting in the same diner. Same booth. But in the picture, I was smiling. And there was someone else sitting across from me. Laura. Her face was blurry, like it had been smeared across the film. I looked up at the man. "Where did you get this?" He shook his head. "They always forget. Until it's too late." Then he turned and walked out the front door without another word. I ran after him. Gone. No trace of him on the street. I asked the waitress, short woman, gray hair, mid-50s. "Did you see that guy who just walked out?" Older man, green coat, black beanie? She looked at me like I'd spoken another language. "Sweetie, you've been sitting here alone the whole time." I went home. Shaking. Sweating. Everything felt wrong. Off balance. Like reality was skipping. When I got inside, the house smelled clean. Too clean. Like bleach and lemon and something underneath. Something metallic. The attic door was open again. I didn't want to go up there. I didn't want to see it. But I knew I had to. I climbed the stairs, 1 slow step at a time. When I reached the attic, I almost screamed. There were now 2 rocking chairs. Both facing the hatch.
I stepped forward. My feet felt heavy, like every step was through syrup. The other me, the older one, didn't move. He just stared. "You think you're the first version of you to come here? You're not." I swallowed hard. "What is this?" He smiled sadly. "A pattern, a trap, a test. Doesn't matter. You lived it before, again and again. Always with Laura, always with Eric, always with me." I shook my head. "That's not possible. Memory's not the same thing as time." The attic around us shimmered for a second, like heat off pavement. I saw glimpses of other versions of this room, one with blood on the walls, one with fire outside the window, one completely empty. He stood up slowly from the chair. "This place feeds off your attention. The more you try to make sense of it, the more real it becomes." He pointed to the chairs. That's why they always wait, because they know eventually you'll sit. My knees went weak. I never wanted this, I whispered. He walked closer, and for the first time, I noticed tears in his eyes. None of us did. But wanting doesn't change the pattern. I looked around. Something inside me cracked. The house, the photos, the notes, the people who appeared and vanished, all of it was performing. For me, because I was watching. And the more I gave it meaning, the stronger it became. So, how do I stop it? The older me blinked slowly. You already know. Suddenly, the attic door behind me slammed shut. The chairs were empty again. Only one light bulb above remained on, swinging slightly. There, on the third chair, sat a final note. To end it, walk away. But when I turned toward the attic steps, there was nothing. Just black, a void, no escape, no door, only one way left. The window. As I approached it, the light bulb above buzzed louder, like it was trying to warn me, or plead. Outside the window, I didn't see the street, no trees, no stars, just a reflection of myself, watching, waiting, like a final question hanging in the air. Are you ready to leave the story behind? I reached for the glass, touched it. My fingers pressed against the cold glass. It didn't feel like a window anymore. It felt like skin, like touching something alive on the other side. The reflection of me stared back, unchanged, calm, expectant, and then it spoke, without moving its lips, without sound, but I heard it. All you have to do is stop. My breath fogged the glass. Stop chasing the meaning. Stop asking what's real. Stop feeding it. Behind me, the attic began to dissolve, literally peel away, wall by wall, board by board, fading into static. The attic wasn't breaking, it was ending, because I was no longer watching it. The reflection leaned closer. Its eyes changed, from hollow and black to something deeper, almost sad. Let go. I closed my eyes, breathed in, and stepped forward, right into the glass. There was no shattering, no sound, just a moment of stillness, like falling asleep in midair. And then, epilogue. I woke up in my car, parked on the side of the road, engine cold, no keys in the ignition. The sky outside was soft blue. Morning. My phone sat on the passenger seat. One new notification. Reminder, therapy appointment, 10:30 a.m. No missed calls, no strange messages, just normal. I looked out the window. Across the street stood a familiar house, white paint, red door, no movement, no lights. I stared at it for a long moment, then turned the key in the ignition. The engine came to life. I drove away, never looked back. Not once. Final line, as a closing whisper. Some stories don't end when you finish them. They end when you stop needing to know why they started.